The Confessional Flapjack, written by Paul T. Davies and performed by Joseph Alexander Rawlings, in the style of Alan Bennett. I think it was the Canadian rapper Drake, who said he had 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one of them. No, it wasn't him. It may have been Snoop Scooby-Doo. Oh, actually, I stand corrected. It was Jay-Z. Rio has been trying to educate me to the appeal of rap music, but it's a genre I'm resisting. And we agree that the term Mr. Z uses is now deemed rather offensive. And Rio only does this when his housemate Silvio joins him for a sunbathe in the garden and they play their music. Rio was right about the Italians. They are very handsome, but I'm not over fond of Silvio. He is rather exuberant. And being young men, they tend to become a bit competitive. I was happy to judge their press-up competition, at Rio winning by a clear majority, but I tend to leave them to their chats about girls. I also have to pick up a lot of cigarette butts after they leave, Silvio being very fond of smoking. It's much more relaxed with just Rio, and he is becoming a fan of Debussy, who he calls great chill-out music. I don't have anywhere near 99 problems, but I have one less now that Dame Helen and I made up since that unfortunate incident where she thought I had died. She isn't a real dame. That's my term of affection for her, as she is a leading light in the local amateur dramatic scene. And even she admits she can be over-dramatic. We sat on the front wall yesterday, she arriving with some of her legendary flapjacks and reminding ourselves of some of her greatest theatrical triumphs. I repeated that her Blanche de Bois was the best I've ever seen. She modestly replied that there was no competition, since the only other production that came to town was the touring A Streetcar Named Desire, starring Christopher Biggins and Sue Pollard. It was not a classic rendition. We watched the world go by, as it tends to, even if it's a tad slow. Shamika went past, doing a bike ride with her daughter, Destiny Child. She said, "Don't forget I'm singing a new song on my doorstep at 8 tonight. You know I'm the street's answer to Beyonce," and off she rode, laughing. "More Nick knows than Beyonce knows," muttered Dame Helen. "Who is married to Jay-Z?" I said. "Look at you, getting down with the youth." Helen laughed. After a pause, she said, "He's a nice lad, that Rio." I agreed, and outlined some of his beliefs and conversations we had had. She chewed a flapjack thoughtfully as I spoke. Then another one as I explained the meaning of his tattoos. And I was a bit surprised when she asked me if he had a tattoo on his bum, as that was a rumour. I said I had no idea, and why would anyone think I would know, until she interrupted me. "Alan," she said, "you will be careful, won't you?" I asked her what she meant. She said, "Well, he's a young man, he's obviously fond of you, and you don't want him taking advantage." I said, "What, of me garden?" She said, "It's just, you're obviously close, and he's very good looking, and you know you can feel things too much sometimes." I interrupted her. "Helen," I said, "Rio and I are just friends, no matter what the likes of Bernard or Joyce opposite may think. It's the same way that you and I are friends, it's purely platonic. she suddenly coughed and shouted, "Hello!" And that's when I saw Rio coming up to my wall. Luckily, I don't think he heard us talking about him. He passed some pleasantries with us, then asked if he could sunbathe. There was no Silvio, as he was FaceTiming a girl in Milan and needed some private time. I told him to go ahead. My garden was his garden, I said pointedly, and off he trotted around the back. After a pause, Helen said, "I'm sorry, Alan. He's a very nice young man, easy to talk to. I'm sorry if I offended you." Of course, I couldn't stay angry with her for long, and we passed another hour or so shooting the breeze when Joyce opposite began to muscle in on our conversation. Helen wisely remembered she had a sonnet to learn and said her goodbyes. As I was washing up the cups and plates, I contemplated why anyone would think there was anything more than friendship between me and Rio. I mean, it's not just the age difference. As Mother always said, I've got the face for radio. I looked at Rio face down on my lawn catching the sun. Honestly, people have nothing better to do than gossip. As I wiped the plates dry, I thought, yes, he has got a very unusual tattoo on his bottom. That was The Confessional Flapjack, written by Paul T. Davies and performed by Joseph Alexander Rawlings, in the style of Alan Bennett.